imagine the Bible with no stories and everybody was perfect. Just think about that. If everyone were perfect or no one told their story, how do we really see the power of the cross?
Since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the pro life movement has changed, and so has the way we fight for the unborn. Many celebrated and stepped back, thinking the war was over, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Abortion didn't end, it just slipped out of sight. And when no one is watching, injustice thrives. We're here to show you why the battle still rages on and how to stand, speak, and fight back in a post Roe world. This is the CPC Podcast. Well, welcome back to the CPC Metro Podcast, and welcome in if you guys are new. My name's Chrissy. The Center for Pregnancy Choices Metro area is the largest pregnancy resource center in the state of Mississippi, and we exist to empower the choice for life. With me in the studio, as always, is the one at the helm of this organization, our fearless leader, and a lady that I have looked up to for a very long time, figuratively, Miss Erin Kate Good. How are you
I'm
today?
doing great. I'm doing great. We're very excited about, our speaker
We
today.
are.
Yeah.
I've kinda never been more jealous of you than I am right now because you are the one who introduces our guests, and you get to introduce our guests.
Well, I was thinking on the way here, how am I gonna do that? Because there's so many different ways that Chandra has, impacted me personally, the CPC, and then I know just the pro-life space as well as women in ministry, so, but Chandra Jarrett is, an author, she's a speaker, she's a coach, she's a consultant, she does a lot of other things I'm probably not even thinking about, but she has, I met Chandra through a pregnancy center conference, the the 2nd year that I was director here, so I've actually feel like Chandra and I have walked through me being, the CPC director together through these years, and she has spoken at several of our events
Yes.
and actually coaches our staff, our leadership team, and, has done our weekend retreats, has done training for our weekend retreats, our staff retreats and, training for our volunteers, many, many things, and so we're just honored to have Chandra here today.
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback because I can't let you do the whole thing, the
Okay.
whole intro. Sh I You guys go way back, you and Chandra. Um, I first knew of Chandra in 2021 when she was a CPC banquet speaker, and I was so impressed. She gave the most monumental pro-life speech, and it moved me so much, and then when I came on staff and I got, the coaching, I found out that she was going to be the one coaching me, and so I straight up wore a blazer and, like, got all professional looking because I wanted to impress Chandra, but you know what? We got on that call, and she is the most down to earth, wonderful person, and I just love her so much. So let's please bring her in. Good morning,
Good
Chandra.
morning. Y'all got me over here crying. I'm trying to pull myself together.
Look, we're
Oh my
returning the
goodness.
favor. You make me
Thank you.
cry every time I talk to you. I mean, this lady has prayed for me and just been so intentional, I know for me and for Erin Kate, and she just means so much to the CPC. So welcome and thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you for having me. I am honored to be here, and thank you, Erin Cade, for the introduction. We do. We go a long way back, and uh, I just love you dearly. I'm grateful for the work you do. I'm proud of you all, and it really is an honor to be here today.
Well, we do appreciate you. And, it is January, and that is a special time for us CPC people. And so it is Sanctity of Human Life Month.
Mhm.
Erin Kate, could you give us a little bit of an overview for those who may not be familiar with what Sanctity of Human Life Month means before we jump into our conversation with Chandra?
Sure. So Sanctity of Life Month is the time that we remember, the decision of Roe versus Wade many years ago, and so this is the time when the church really comes together and puts an emphasis on, the value of life, and, of course, now, Roe was overturned, and so, it has a different meaning. We still have work to do. We still need to recognize the value of life and build a culture of life, so Here at the CPC, it's when we're out the most, in churches, speaking, just having conversations, updating people on the ministry, and just kind of rededicating ourselves as a community and a church of what, we're gonna do in the upcoming year to, bring the gospel to people, um, as alongside this abortion issue, to use this abortion issue as a way to spread the gospel and to make much of Jesus in our community, and so that's what Sanctity of Life Month is about.
Right, and I think that one of the things that we get to do when we speak at these churches across the area is educate them that it is more than just the, abortion issue on the front end. It's also, abortion recovery.
That's right.
And so, Chandra, you have just a beautiful story. Aaron, Kate, and I have both heard it. But for our listeners, could you just give us, just tell your story, and just tell us about the redemption and the abortion recovery from your personal experience?
Absolutely. At the age of 20, at the age of 19, while in college, I got pregnant with my son. And I remember going to the doctor, and the nurse said to me, "Are you going to keep it or not?" And I called that the first seed that was planted. I had no question in my mind about whether or not I would carry this child and have this child. And I had my son at the age of 20, got married while pregnant because I felt like God wouldn't love me if I had a child out of wedlock. And then a year later, my then husband had an affair, and I had an affair to get revenge and got pregnant by the other guy. And for 20 weeks, I wrestled with what to do. He continued his affair, and I struggled with the depression that would turn into sickness. And after 20 weeks, I had my first abortion and had to be hospitalized. There was no ultrasound. I bled out, had to have a blood transfusion. And for 25 years, I suffered with depression, sickness, and crying, and no doctor could diagnose it. November 8th, I went into a post abortive Bible study. And in that Bible study, I'll never forget that that's where the Lord said to me, "There are three things associated with your abortion: your sickness, your crying, and your depression." And I wrote it just on the corner of the page. And I remember the facilitator saying to me, as we were sharing our stories, "Is there anything, Chandra, you want to share?" And I shared what the Lord had shared with me, that these were the things associated with my abortion. Because for 25 years, I would get these headaches. And my son learned at the age of 2 or 3 that when mommy gets a headache, to get a trash can. And I would vomit all night. And I slept on the bathroom floor. And nobody could figure that part out for me, right? But on November 8th, the Holy Spirit said, "This is what it is." And that facilitator said, "We're going to pray James 5:16, because James 5:16 says, if we confess our sins to one another, we shall be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much." And that night, we prayed James 5:16 after I repented, asked God for forgiveness, and he healed me that night, which is, I mean, I even today have never been sick, never suffered with depression, no medication. And then 2 years later, I came on staff at the Pregnancy Medical Center, CPC of Tidewater, and really began to learn about what we're talking about today, sanctity of human life, because I'd never heard of it. And God just began to unfold my story and give me the privilege to help women not do what I did. And that's how God has redeemed my story. Um, and I'm just grateful that I get to speak truth about the trauma of abortion and how it impacts our life.
Well, you do definitely radiate that gratitude. And I think that, at least for me coming on just a few months ago, it's been pretty amazing seeing the abortion recovery arm of this ministry. I did not expect for it to be like it is. Like, I expected it to be a girl who comes in, maybe after a recent decision, that is regret, and maybe sometimes it is, but more often than not, we see women who have come in from years out from their decision, and they're still struggling, like you said, with sickness or just in need of healing because it it affects all different areas of your life when you may not even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the data shows that it typically takes women 20 years to begin to seek healing. And I say it's the raincoat of shame. If we were to think about this covering of shame, the guilt we feel, people don't always feel safe to say, yes, I made a decision, or yes, I made this choice, but I regret it, right? Because we live in a culture that says abortion is right, it's our choice, it's our body, but nobody's talking about the psychological effect, the spiritual effect, right? Well, because we know that we're taking the life of a child, and that God is the giver and the sustainer of life. And I have yet to meet a woman who said, I woke up this morning when I started living my life, I knew I just wanted to take the life of my child. That's not what we find, right? Women really are struggling with a decision, and then once the decision is made, then it's the guilt and the shame that keeps us hitting. And so anytime a young lady that comes and wants to do abortion recovery, that it's been a year or 2 years or 5 years, I applaud that, because I don't want her to carry the weight I carried for 25 years. I don't want her to carry that burden, and that's why the work you all are doing is so important in the abortion recovery space, because it is more than what people think. Like, part of the lies that people believe about pregnancy medical clinics is that they don't care about us who are post-abortive. And that's so far from the truth, because that's where I have seen God move in such powerful ways. But yes, there are women that are silently sitting in churches, going to jobs, caring for children with this shame that keeps them carrying this secret.
Right, and recently I had a conversation with, an advocate on the abortion recovery team who told me something that I will not forget, and she said they feel obligated. I guess especially if they're Christians, they feel obligated to shame.
Mhm.
Is that kind of been your experience too?
That's probably a good way to put it, because it really is the blood of Christ powerful enough to forgive me of murder? Can the blood of Christ, right? If we begin to talk real deliverance, have we made this such a sin that not even Christ can save me? Christ can redeem me. So it's almost like penance.
Right.
I'm going to pay the price for what I did quietly, silently, paralyzed, because the truth is, I don't believe the gospel that Jesus died for my sin of abortion.
Yeah, and I know that I have, mentioned Dr. Park to you in just some of our talks, but we have a life group, and I remember him saying to feel like you have to punish yourself is to say that the punishment that God poured out on Jesus is not enough. And that's kind of what you
Yeah,
spoke to.
that's it exactly. And here is where, again, here's what I love about abortion recovery, because it gives us the opportunity to look at the truth of what we did, right? I think that part of why, like, I've had 2 abortions, and people are like, how do people have multiple abortions? If they don't get healing, and healing that really allows them to sit with the truth of the sin, and that could be any sin, it could be adultery, it could be lying.
Mhm.
When we get to sit and see, here is the stage, the age of my child, how many weeks this was a life, then I can't really move into redemption in a healthy way, to really understand the price that Christ paid for us on the cross, if I don't look at it in a healthy space. So, in the healing journey of abortion recovery, the goal is not to make a person stay in shame, it's to help us own the sin, right? It's the accountability, that we need to then say, okay, now let's take that and put it at the feet of Jesus. And let's look at what Christ did for us so that you can now release that to him and receive all that the cross gave us. But if we don't do that, then yes, we punish ourselves thinking that that's all that's available to us. But God put the punishment on the Son. Like Jesus took it all, and it's there for us to receive it. And that's what we have to do.
So, do you think that, the ministry of Deeper Still, and I learned about this just a few years ago, it's still kinda new to me. The Deeper Still retreat ministry was something that, I know you're familiar with, but did the Deeper Still retreat have an impact in your healing journey?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Deeper Still was the third post abortive Bible study organization that I participated in. The very first one was called Healing Hearts. So that was the one, the study I did, a 12-week study, November 8, 2010. And then Forgiven and Set Free was the second one. And I believe Holy Spirit can breathe on anything that's anchored in Christ. So hear me. Right. So anything I believe we do that is anchored in the word of God, that the Lord has birthed, God can move in it. Right. They are tools that God uses. And I say that because sometimes we get so caught up in the semantics that we forget that it's God doing the work. But each one is unique, like the gospel, right? How John tells the story is not how Mark tells the story, and it's not how Luke tells the story. And I believe that our healing journey is like an onion peeling away layers. And so God did the first part November 8th. But here's what was significant about Deeper Still for me. Deeper Still, what I love, really does take you deeper. It really does go places in this healing journey and the vision that God gave Karen, the founder, I've never experienced in the other two. And that's the truth. And so when I began to go through Deeper Still, first they are bathed in prayer. Their ministry of prayer for abortion recovery is unlike anything I've even seen in churches. I'm being very, y'all, Aaron K knows I'm very honest.
Mm.
I've just never seen the systems and the process and the way they pray over this ministry, over the participants, over the leaders. And you feel that when you go through it, like when you go through it. But here's where Deeper Still took me deeper. And I had no idea at the time I would be coming back to Nashville to move home to be my mom's caregiver. I went through Deeper Still in the fall of 2019, and I'm gonna cry because it was only the Lord. Um, and I remember, so this is where I was born and raised, Nashville. I can tell you exactly where I was when I was in the hospital, how I looked out the window and saw Fisk University. I was in Meharry Hospital. And I remember when I would come home from Virginia, I would have flashbacks of that experience up until October 2019. And one of the things that Deeper Still does is it breaks off a lot of things: soul ties, relationships, mother mantle, father mantle, just a lot of different things. But one of the prayers that we prayed was to go to the place where you had the abortion and pray where the land has been polluted by the blood of lives.
Wow.
It's Numbers 35:33. So this is why I had to write notes. Numbers 35:33 says, "You shall not pollute the land in which you live, for blood pollutes the land, and no atonement can be made for the land for the blood that is shed in it, except by the blood of the one who shed it."
Wow.
And I remember coming home that Christmas and going by the hospital to pray that God would atone that land and that He would remove the memories that I felt like were sometimes tormenting me, these flashbacks. That was 2019. In March 2020, right before the pandemic, the Lord woke me up and said, "Come home to care for my mom." And I can't imagine what my life would be like if the Lord hadn't healed me of that, now having to drive through Nashville all the time. Now, do I forget my abortion? Absolutely not. But the experience is different because I got to go deeper at deeper still. I love that it's a weekend retreat, that it is not 12 weeks. I know after doing post abortive Bible studies for 10 years that many times just to get the woman to show up 3 weeks in a row was hard because, again, when she's having to sit in this space and look at what she's done, it's hard. But with deeper still, the vision that God gave them was from Thursday to Sunday, God takes you deeper, deeper, deeper in a short time. And you get to go home, I say in a weekend, a changed woman or a changed man. And that's God. It's almost like, right, when Jesus died and was in the grave and then he got up,
Mm,
resurrected. Come on.
right.
Yeah.
And I've heard that so many times. Like,
Mhm.
Erin Kate, you can speak to that. Just the description that our staff, our volunteers, those who serve at the retreat, that's what they say. They say these women and men too who go
Yes.
through deeper still come home different
A
people.
new face. I mean, really a new, visual, and I've seen it. I don't serve on the retreat team, but I've seen it in the participants that I've known before and after. I have seen a new face. I mean, a new light, and just not carrying the weight, and not being some people that kind of operate are shy or hiding,
Mhm.
serving very faithfully, but very quietly, are joyful and just out, just it's transformational. It is transformational just to see, even just in a short amount of time, and I think that's one of the reasons, and Chandra was the one who told me about Deeper Still. I just I was frustrated, our abortion recovery ministry was we couldn't get past so many weeks, or, that just like that commitment of 12 weeks is a long time, and so I was looking for something even just to get people started, just to get a taste if they eventually wanted to go to a Bible study, great, but just a deep dive, and that's what I love, but I found out it was so much more than just, "Oh, well, this is a little solution to a problem." This is
Yes.
actually way bigger than that. It is amazing ministry, and it is turning lives around here.
Right, and that's kinda where I want to emphasize that I think the post-abortion ministry part of this is changing the landscape, and I think that it's going to get a lot of younger girls' attention
Mm,
by the wisdom of older women who have walked that
Thank
path
you.
before, who are boldly saying, like you, Chandra, "I don't want anybody
mm,
to go through what I went through." And I
mm.
think we're seeing over at our
Yes.
center more and more women speaking out, and that's gotta be so hard. I can't imagine, the courage that it takes to tell your story, but that's another thing that they help you with, right? Don't they help you, learn how to talk to your friends or just your circle about your redemption story?
Yes, absolutely. That is part of the healing journey, right? Psalm 107 verse 2 says, "Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story." Right? That's the NIV. And it is part of Deeper Still's healing journey to create a space for you to share your story. And I love and Erin Kate, I want to give you kudos, right? I tell you all the time privately just how the Lord, one, has given us friendship, but your insight and your willingness to step in this space as someone who's not post-abortive, but who saw God moving, saw a space, right, where here's my position, and Erin Kate will tell you, we talk about this all the time. If 63 million babies have been aborted, we know we could do the numbers. We could say 50 million moms and dads, right, that are out here carrying this weight as you described it, Aaron Kate. How do we get them free, right, to really be this voice for life, to really talk about this experience? Because we know the data shows, like there's enough data over 30 years to show all the things that are connected to abortion, from the depression to the sickness. And so to have people begin to share their story, there's one, healing in the story, there's redemption in the story, but it will, Chrissy, as you said, help others. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, help others not walk in this space, help others make a different decision, help others know that you're available to have these conversations with him before they make a decision, so that they don't end up on the side I'm on. And I say side not in a bad way, but having to work through this. Like, if my son is 41 years old, my daughter would have been 40. Like, my son and I talk about what it was like for him with a mother that all he knew was she was sick.
Right.
And that wasn't fair to him or me even, right? So how do we share our story of helping others not walk this path?
Yeah, and I really love that because I think it's important, and I don't know why this is, but I think every family has done it. If we ignore the problem, if we pretend like
Mhm,
it didn't happen, if we push it to the side,
mhm,
then it will go away and we can move on, right? But one verse that came to my mind when you were talking was, I think, Psalm 32. Isn't it Psalm 32? It says, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away."
that's
You know?
good.
And so I appreciate that we do encourage that stage of recovery, is just talking to our families and talking to our friends, because
Mhm.
we can't just pretend, like, as parents, like, I have to say I'm sorry to my boys
Yeah,
sometimes. They know that mom is not perfect, and I don't want them to think that mom is perfect, you
yeah,
know? So
yeah.
I think that's super important, and I really also appreciate that you're talking to the non-post abortive
Yeah.
people, because I think it's easy for people like Erin, Kate, and myself who have not had that experience to think that we are just exempt
Yeah.
from serving in that way. So
Yeah.
if you could just kinda speak to that person, who we've got a training coming up on February 6th and 7th
Mhm.
for those who are interested in serving in Deeper Still. And what I don't want while we're trying to promote this training is that I don't want people to think, "Oh, well, I have nothing to do. I've never had an abortion before, so it doesn't apply to me." So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Holy Spirit may want to move you in that way.
Yes. I think, Chrissy, you said something and it made me think about, just again, the power of the gospel, right? If imagine the Bible with no stories and everybody was perfect.
Mhm.
Just think about that. If everyone were perfect or no one told their story, how do we really see the power of the cross? Like, Jesus went to the cross because of sin.
Yes.
He came for the sick, us, me. Let me just talk about me, right?
Right.
So, the power of us sharing our testimony, and this is what I love about Deeper Still. You're right. It's not just for people who are post abortive, right? It's people who God has delivered from addiction, adultery, fornication, anxiety, right? And the reason, and again, this is my thought, is that we all need Jesus and the cross.
Mhm.
And when we're all in this space together, even though the primary focus is abortion, those in the space that are facilitators have a story of redemption. And it humbles us to be reminded that no sin is greater. It is the cross that is the greatest. And because
Absolutely.
Jesus died, he died for all of us.
Yes. A
That's it.
another verse, 2 Corinthians 12. "Therefore, I will boast all the more in my weakness."
Yes.
So, yeah, that's one thing that I really think that as a society of believers, we have got to get over this pushing things to the side. No, boast in your weakness.
Boasting in your week. And I'll say, for those for the training, because you ask about the training. So I'll say, if you have a heart for deliverance, if you've got a story of redemption, a story of hope, which we all have in some form, right? And you want to have, I call it a privilege to walk with people from brokenness to healing, from hopelessness to hope, um, from death to life.
Mhm.
Because really, when we've aborted our children, we're carrying death many times. It is the thought of the death that keeps us paralyzed. But Jesus came to give us life. And if you believe God has called you to that, come to the training. Come be the hands and feet of Jesus and walk with these men and women and watch God do what only He can do to bring healing in a place that many things it can't happen.
Absolutely. It is real, and that is your testimony. And so I really appreciate just you being so open and honest and real with us and with everybody that you come in contact with. Erin, Kate, final thoughts?
Yeah, one of the things that I felt like I needed to say today is that I'm really grateful for the people who have poured into our abortion and recovery ministry over the last several years. I mean, we've had a faithful group of women, from many, many years back who kind of were our foundation, our Freedom 517 ladies, and they know who they are, so I'm just giving a shout out. But then over just in the last couple of years to launch a weekend retreat is a quite a feat, I believe, for our ministry, and we could not do that without the
Mhm.
prayers and support of our community, and it is a testimony, I believe, to the watching world that we do care about women who have chosen abortion, that we don't just say, "You made the wrong choice, deal with it." We've got gospel, we've got grace for that, and the fact that our community we have trained up so many volunteers already. We need more. They
Yes.
need relief, they to do a weekend, several weekend retreats a year is hard, so we need more, but also the prayer, as Chandra mentioned, the prayer that goes into these weekend retreats is phenomenal. It has really inspired me, even in the way that we are starting to do our prayer breakfasts at the CPC, just to involve the community more in intentional prayer. That prayer team is vital, and I know that all of these people that have been pouring into this, over the last 2 years that we've launched this, I wanna thank them, and I also wanna thank the women who have come from that retreat and who have shared their stories because um, it is powerful. That's what I love the most is just to see a woman who has been set free share her story, share what Jesus did for her,
Mhm.
and what he through that, what he did for her whole family, what he's done for her community, and we've had so many women come out of that retreat or out of our Bible studies, share their stories with our community, and that has connected the dots, I believe, for so many people at our clinic tours and speaking in churches. It's connected the dots of why are we fighting this? Sometimes we don't see the
It's
unborn child.
distant.
It's so
Yes.
distant. But when you see a woman who looks like you or a man who looks like you and they're telling their story of what they did, the choice they made, and the freedom that, is available to them, it's making it more tangible, and real in our community, and so I'm very grateful for all that, and I want more people to join, men and women to get involved, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through serving at the retreat or participating or just telling their friends about it. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we have really built something, together, really special here in Jackson, and I'm grateful. And Chandra's been a part. Chandra's the one who told me about Deeper Still, so you really planted that seed for us, many years ago.
Yes, and Chandra, again, we appreciate you so much for just having this talk with us today. You are a light and an encourager to us, and so we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was an honor.
With an
Anytime, anytime. You all can have me anytime.
well, we'll hold you to it. Okay, well, we have some housekeeping issues, I guess, to talk about. We've got a lot of things coming up over at the CPC. The first would be January 23rd. We have a prayer breakfast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so
Well, you
just
just kinda did,
as
but
I just mentioned, prayer is really important, and we are doing something new, just to have intentional prayer from our community, our partners. over our staff, every department of the CPC, which you may not know, there's a lot of different areas of ministry that need your intentional prayers, but specifically over every single client who walks through our doors. We want to match a prayer partner with them in a meaningful way. And so we're going to launch this year our prayer breakfast, this new way of doing things. And then, as deeper still, as the retreats come up, you'll be able to pray for participants in that. And all this, of course, is anonymously. We are not giving out patient names or retreat participant names, but we have a way that you'll be able to pray specifically for them. So we invite you to join us for that this coming Friday morning, the 23rd.
Yes.
Um, and that's
And
it.
then CPC 101, are we talking about that?
Yeah, so we will be having a CPC 101 event in February, March. It's in February, and, that will be we can get you more information, but that will be a deep dive into an overview of the CPC so that you can see different areas where you may serve. So, each as I mentioned, we have several different, arms of our ministry, and you will get to come in, and for a day long, it'll be, like I said, a deep dive, just seeing the different parts of our ministry and how you may serve. So, if you're interested in volunteering or just learning more about us in a deeper way than just one of our clinic tours, or just from us speaking, but you want to come in our doors and really, really get to know the ministry, that will be it, our CPC 101.
Right, and I say this every time, you know, you don't know until you come in and hear from all of the areas of those that we serve. We're gonna be having leaders who, if youth is your thing, then we have a branch called, prevention. So, loving on and being intentional with youth kids, students, so that it can train them in good decision making. You know, if the abortion recovery has your heart, of course, you know, we have lots of places for you to be able to serve in those areas too. I just want to get to the point where we let everybody know that it's not just a place where we hand out diapers.
Thank
You
you.
know,
That's
like,
right.
there is so much to this ministry, and it is a ministry, and we do believe that it is a gospel issue. We believe that our mission field is inside the doors of the CPC, and we take that out into the world. So, with that, please come and join us on January 23rd at our prayer breakfast. We have a lot planned for 2026, and you will get your first glimpse of that if you come and pray with us. So, until next time, see you later.